Thursday, October 12th.
Make sure she's recording.
Are we recording on HW Cam? So the meeting's being recorded on HW Cam. It is also on Zoom. We have a quorum. Rick Woodland is participating by Zoom. Peter Clay is here, and I'm Dan Pasquarello, the vice chair. We are also expecting David Anderson, who's going to be joining us shortly. So we do have a continued public hearing on the agenda for tonight, but we're going to hold off on that and skip to the administrative agenda. The first thing on the administrative agenda is the matter of 47 Maple Street preliminary subdivision, which I understand that Griffin Engineering is here to request a continuance. Is that correct? Okay, so do we need anything in writing,
No,
or would you?
it's not a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing,
So we're
okay.
just going to move it to the November agenda. That should be okay.
So the 47 Maple Street preliminary subdivision discussion will be moved to the November 9 hearing of the planning board. Next on the administrative agenda is a follow-up discussion on the MBTA communities matter, which I understand, Margaret, you have something to share?
I do want to share with you, I received an email today from the planning director in Hamilton, and the Hamilton Planning Board would like to meet with the planning board to discuss, the strategies that we're looking at for MBTA communities. So I think we should decide, I don't know if you can decide on a date, maybe when David gets here, between the four of you. I did talk to Ann today. She is a bit up in the air with her work schedule, and things have been changing. So, but I wanted to get a couple of dates that might work for you all, and then I can throw them out to Hamilton.
So we should probably do that before our next
Yeah,
meeting on
yeah,
November 9th.
Yep, would like to do that before that next meeting. I had a question. At your last meeting, did you decide on an MBTA meeting?
We talked about a public outreach meeting for the MBTA issue,
Okay.
and I think we discussed November 16 as a date for that. So
November
we should
16th?
We
Okay.
should probably set that tonight, because
Yeah, if we can, that would probably be good to set that date. So your regular scheduled meeting is November 9th, and
Right.
you wanted to do a special MBTA meeting.
Yep, a public outreach meeting. So what I think we need for that is some sort of publicity, or some sort of,
Yeah.
whether that's a mailer, a direct mailer, or something else, but just so
Okay,
people know.
okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Sure, we can do that. We'll have to decide the best way to do it. So right now, when we have...
If you really want to get maximum reach, you put it in the water bill.
Well, I don't know when the water bill's coming out.
I think the water bills already came
I think
out.
it's already...
They already came out.
Yeah, I think we might have missed the water bill. Yeah.
I
We
think this
do-
would merit its own flyer or whatever, a postcard.
Do you think so?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, they did that for a recent event. They
I
sent, for
just
that
got
iron
something.
rail thing.
Yes.
For the iron rail
Yeah.
thing. Did you pay attention to it?
I definitely saw it.
Saw it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
But
so
you didn't
that
want
would
me
be
to
a
come to that
budget.
meeting, remember? Because we would have had a quorum, so I didn't
That's
come
right.
to that meeting.
We would have to find budget for that. Those are, end up being almost $1,000 or so.
What do you think,
Yeah,
joint select board member?
sure. Let's do it.
I'm in favor of it.
And
I
what
think
time
it's-
would this happen?
It's up to you. What do you guys think?
Either our regular time, or maybe, I think, earlier, or maybe 6:30?
So this is for the public meeting on November...
So the iron rail thing started at 6.
Yes, at 6 o'clock.
I think that would be a good time to do it.
Okay. It's not too late.
And that was
or-
really well attended.
It was. I'm just concerned about if people, it is still a work day, right? If people are still coming
Yeah.
out of the city, is it better?
Excuse me, guys. I find 6 o'clock for a lot of people might be a little early.
I think
Can you,
6 is
I
early.
missed the beginning of that, right?
I'm sorry, I tried to break in. I believe that 6 o'clock is a little early for a lot of people.
Why don't we split the difference and say 6:30?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that good?
Okay. So,
I'm fine.
November 16th at 6:30. That gives us 1, 2, about four and a half weeks.
Was Iron Rail at Bucher or was it here?
Bucher.
5 weeks.
We had like 50 people.
What do we think about this? Should we do?
Definitely worth it maybe to have it at Bucher.
Okay.
Or somewhere bigger than here. Okay. All
let's
right,
say
so let me
6:30
work
at
on that.
Bucher.
I will put together a postcard. We also do social media. We do our web pages. We have a big email list that we send
You
things
can
out
use the
to.
purple for the MBTA,
Purple? Okay,
whatever the
all right,
commuter line is.
okay. So, Rick, we're talking November 16th, 6:30 at the Bucher School.
Great.
And I will talk to, because the planning board itself doesn't have a budget.
At our last meeting, we just approved additional funding for
Admin.
admin for.
Yeah.
So I
Well, we made a recommendation for that, but the select board approved it, right?
Yeah, I don't think
Yes.
we could use that money for
Thank you.
mailings.
we
That was-
definitely talked about having more money available for this. I
Yeah.
thought.
Okay,
Yes, we did.
okay, we can find it. So I should probably get those out within, I'll get them out within 2 weeks. If we get them out by the 26th of October, we should hit families by the first week in November.
If we could
That's
get them,
fine.
if it's possible to get people before Halloween.
Yeah, get to their houses before Halloween? Okay. I can try to do
Just
that.
like, we want to have as much notice as we can for
Okay.
the level of interest in
Okay.
this one.
All right, I'll get that out to you guys.
Look at him.
All right.
God, a guy who
Mr.
actually.
Anderson is with us at 7:12.
Sharp.
Thanks. Okay, is that it?
One more question on
Yeah.
this before we go.
Let David know.
Dave, we just scheduled a public outreach meeting on MBTA for November 16
Yep, at 6:30.
at 6:30 at Bucher. And we're going to send a mailer out for publication by the 26th.
And will this meeting be Zoom as well as in person?
It's hard to do a Zoom, I think, at Bucher School, Rick. I'm not sure how we would do that, or if HW Cam does Bucher School. Do you guys do that?
They do, I know HW Cam does.
Could we do Zoom there? Yeah. You think? Okay.
I would suggest that we do that so that people who can't leave the kids can at least listen, if not participate.
Okay. All right, that's a good idea. We'll make it a Zoom. And,
Can we encourage in-person participation on the
can.
card?
we can encourage.
Okay.
David, we spoke about, I let the board know that I got an email today from the planning director of Hamilton, and their planning board wants to meet with you guys soon to talk about MBTA and what they're thinking about their strategies and what you're thinking about yours, so.
Bring it on.
We'll work on that. Okay, so I'll send out some dates for you guys for that. Okay.
So that's going to be before our next meeting on the 9th.
It will be, yeah,
Great.
yeah. Yeah, I think sooner the better.
Is that gonna be a noticed meeting or just a, I guess it would have to be.
It'll be a 48-hour notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be an agenda posted.
Here
I'm
or
not
there?
sure where
Are we playing home or away on that one?
I'm not sure where we
We're
will
gonna
have
meet in
it.
Essex.
We'll have to find,
neutral
we'll
ground.
have to find neutral. ground.
Neutral corner.
We're
yeah.
going to meet at the train station, Dave.
Meet at the library.
The library's a good idea. I'll
Library's a
see if
great
I can
idea.
get that. We'll see if we can get that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we have, we're not expecting Ann Weeks tonight, our chair, so we have our full complement. So why don't we go back, or why don't we call the continued public hearing on the 8 Cedar Street definitive subdivision? And I don't need to do the notice because it's already open, right? Okay. So, this is a petition by Griffin Engineering on behalf of North Shore Property Group for approval. I'm sorry, that's not right. It's on the petition of Griffin Engineering on behalf of Sabatini Development LLC for approval of a 2-lot definitive subdivision plan for land located at 8 Cedar Street, map 18, lot 17. And I know we have someone from Griffin Engineering here. Sean, what would you like to tell us?
So, at the last meeting, there were a couple of requests, to add, some items to the plans. One of them was the waiver for street lighting, that was added. We're not proposing any street lighting, so we had to request a waiver. A couple other minor things, we added some additional erosion controls.
I'm going to bring it up.
Yeah. See if we-
Oh, there it is.
There's some people in the waiting room.
Oh, my. Yes, hold on. Thank you, David. I need to tell it to make noise. Hmm? I know. These speakers out. Let me see, we've got... Trying to get them in. We've got a Kim, a Cedar 29, and Kimberly's iPad trying to connect. Rick, can you see the plan on your screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so, we added the waiver to the cover page, as seen there, it's number 5 at the very bottom right corner.
Excuse me, could you ask the speaker to get a little closer to the microphone or pull it closer to him? Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Thank you, better. Thank you.
We added some additional erosion controls to sheet C3. We also added mailboxes at Cedar Street for when we talked to the postmaster, and it was requested that we add those at Cedar Street. And then the last thing was the naming of the road. It's named Lily Lane. That was it.
Was that also at the request of the post office, or?
Yeah, I think they wanted it to be the fire department. They wanted it to be separately named, not Cedar Street Extension or anything like that.
Nope. So anything further from the applicant?
Miranda Gooding from Glevsky and Glevsky on behalf of the applicant. I would just add that I believe the submittal by Griffin answered the remaining questions from last time. We also submitted a draft form of covenant that Margaret has reviewed, as well as a revised draft of the roadway maintenance agreement, which establishes for the record at the Registry of Deeds that
So you wanna? Yeah, you can just mute them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not sure if they're having trouble.
Sorry. The easement declaration memorializes at the Registry of Deeds that Lily Lane will be a private way and fully the responsibility of the two lot owners. And they are responsible for maintaining it, for maintaining utilities, and for maintaining the stormwater infrastructure in accordance with the operations and maintenance plan.
Okay, and I know there was one question, Margaret, from the water department. Has that been addressed?
It has been,
Okay.
yes.
And that's in the new easement and maintenance agreement?
Yes, the version you have in your packets reflects that. We took out that clause that the town would ever be responsible for those water lines, so they will not. And that's been removed.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Gooding. Anything further from the applicant? All right, we've heard from our peer reviewer.
We have, yes, and you have a memo from him in your packet from Corey, I'm sorry, Bert Corey,
DGT.
DGT.
Okay.
Yep, and he's satisfied that all of his comments have been answered, and he's comfortable with the subdivision as proposed. with the changes that they made to the revised plan.
Okay. I know we have a few members of the public here. Does anybody want to speak tonight on this issue? Either on Zoom or in person? If you're on Zoom, just use the raise your hand function.
I don't see anyone.
See anybody?
raising their hand.
I was gonna get to the board in a minute, Peter.
Kit Kat.
Okay, so if we don't have any further submissions, I think we can close the public hearing on the 8.
I
Cedar Street?
would,
I was gonna go to deliberation after
yeah,
closing
I,
it.
I think that's okay. I don't have anything further to add to the record.
All right, I'll leave it open, we'll do deliberation, and then we'll close it.
Just so you know, we did receive affidavits from Peter and from Ian attesting that they watched the video and are able to vote on
Okay.
this project.
Peter, you missed, what, last meeting?
He missed one meeting, I think, yeah.
All right, so before we close the public hearing then, I'll open it up to deliberation from the board. Rick, why don't we start with you since you're on Zoom?
I read through the list of conditions that we asked for. They seem that they're all agreed to, so I'm comfortable that we did our diligence on this.
And Rick's referring to a list of, is it 27 or 20?
Yeah, there are, I think there are
25?
20, there's only 24 now. Many of these are general conditions that we do
Okay.
impose on all subdivisions. And some of them are just slightly specific to this. And the board will need to vote on each waiver separately. And I do have I would, if it's okay, I'd like to go through each condition with the applicant so that they're aware of them too, and any questions that might have about, anyone has about them.
Yes, I have
we
one
can go
question
through.
before you start.
Yep.
So we have 4 pages of conditions, and are these duplicate? My first has 25 and my second has 24 in the packet.
Oh, you know why? There was a typo. The
Okay.
first one had number 12 with nothing on it, so I had to take out the number 12. And it
okay.
bumped everything up
All right,
one.
great.
So there
So
was nothing,
why don't we do that now then,
Substantive
Margaret, on the
change.
conditions?
okay, yeah, that would be great. Moran, do you have your copy
I do.
of them? Okay, that would be great if we could go through them. So after going through this and, determining what needed to be done, I just want to confirm that the applicants are aware of the conditions that we're imposing if the board were to vote in favor. So the first condition refers to the requested waiver about the water services. We had gotten an email from the water superintendent that to let them know that there's an understanding, they grant the requested waiver from 4754, which required an 8-inch water main in the street. They've requested to have just water lines from Cedar Street up to the houses. So his comment was that the water services for both homes will have meter pits installed just after their individual curb stop, located no greater than 50 feet from the water main. The owner shall have sole responsibility for maintenance and replacement of any water line or meter pit located after the curb stop. So the water department won't take responsibility for any of the water lines from Cedar Street in, so. Just, if it's okay, if I go over these, okay. Within 60 days of the date hereof, the applicant shall present the recording plans to the planning board for its endorsements in accordance with MGL Chapter 41, Sections 81V and 81X, which plans shall make reference to this definitive subdivision approval and covenant as defined below. Construction of any of those common areas shall not commence, and the town's building inspector shall not issue a building permit for a new habitable structure on any lot, or no lot shall be sold to a person other than the applicant in each case, unless the applicant has recorded the recording plans and the subdivision approval with the Essex County Registry of Deeds, executed and delivered to the planning board a restrictive covenant in the form appended hereto and incorporated herein by reference, and recorded the same with said deeds, which recording shall be deemed to have occurred by the execution of said Exhibit A and its recording. This is a little bit of legalese, but I think everyone understands. as so executed along with this definitive subdivision approval as provided in Clause A above. And inform the planning board in writing of the recording references of the foregoing instruments.
Margie, question. So
Yep.
that includes the landscape plan?
Yes, yep, that includes that plan. That's, it's referenced in the decision as part of the plan. The applicant, number 4, the applicant or owner shall perform and/or observe all of the provisions of the covenant. Number 5 is one that I did want to talk a little bit about you with. This is traditional language that we put in, and you can decide whether or not you want to make any changes. The covenant may be substituted from time to time by one or a combination of the surety methods allowed under GL Chapter 41, Section 81U, subsection 7, which does not include letters of credit, provided that in each instance such substitute surety shall be sufficient in the opinion of the planning board to secure performance of the remaining roadway and infrastructure work. Such substitute surety shall be in an amount equal to 150% of the estimated cost to complete such remaining work as reasonably determined by the board's consultant. The applicant at its sole option may place any cash surety in a gift account under General Law 4453A so as to facilitate the return of the funds if not used by the town and the use of the funds if they are used. So this is when they want to release the lots, they may need to bond it or give us cash surety to make sure the work gets done. So are you comfortable with the 150%? It's pretty standard. That's typically what we do.
I am, and I
Okay.
mean, in this case, you're not gonna be able to sell the lots unless they build that road, so.
Yeah. Okay. Number 6, areas disturbed for roadway infrastructure construction shall be loamed and seeded during construction as soon as possible. That's, we do that to prevent runoff of any disturbed land. During construction, streets shall be swept and catch basins, sumps shall be cleaned regularly at least twice a year during the construction phase. Never sure how long these are going to take. They can take sometimes several years. The applicant shall maintain all portions of any public way used for construction access free of soil, mud, or debris deposited due to use by construction vehicles associated with the subdivision, and shall regularly sweep such areas as necessary. So often in a subdivision, we've had problems where the trucks drag dirt out onto the main road and make a bit of a mess. So we didn't schedule a cleaning time for this, or do we need to do that, or do you want to just, we can, do you often set a schedule for that? Street
I've definitely
seen
seen that done, and this is a pretty small subdivision.
Yeah, okay.
So I think it's good to have the condition in there.
Yep.
It can be subject to inspection.
And I think if there's any issues, we'll be notified by a neighbor and there are people who'll be keeping an eye on it. Okay,
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Is there a limit on how far that's observed? I mean, mud and tires, I mean, if it hits Cherry Street, is that still the developer's responsibility to make sure that's swept clean?
if it hits Cherry Street,
It's
Um,
any public.
You know what I mean? Cedar and Cherry, I mean, how far
yeah.
do you track the debris?
Well, typically it's along Cedar Street. By the time it got to another street, I think the dirt would come off the wheels by
Okay.
then. But if you're talking about like if they're trucking material off and it would have fall out of a dump truck or something, I think they'd be responsible. But
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm more concerned about muddy tires
Yeah,
ending up.
mostly the muddy.
Those don't release so easily when it's totally wet.
Okay.
I mean, the condition's pretty broad. It says any public way, so.
Yeah.
So I
Just
think
checking.
I think it would cover that, Rick, if that were the case.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
for construction access, okay. The owner or its representative shall from time to time during construction provide such benchmarks of property elevations on plan profile sheets as prudent construction practice shall dictate. We'll go over this at the pre-construction meeting with the building inspector. All work shown in the approved plan shall be completed within 3 years from the date hereof. The planning board may extend this deadline for good cause upon request of the applicant. I wanted to confirm with you that you're comfortable with the 3 years. We have had other subdivisions with different timeframes. You guys okay with the 3 years?
Yes.
Okay, good. This one, number 11, the town of Wenham may at its discretion use consultants to supplement town staff for the purpose not limited to inspect roadway construction and project infrastructure. So this just goes into the escrow account. I did speak to the consultant that we've been using, and they have agreed to be our consultant as continued on with this project, so that they'll be doing inspections. They have given us an estimate of $4,000, so we'll ask for that we'll ask to that from the applicant before this is finished. And you're okay with that 4,000? Okay. And that amount could be, we could ask you to put more into that if it gets used up, depending on the project. The applicant shall record the covenant within 30 days of recording any deed. Number 13, the roadway is not intended to be accepted as a public way by the town of Wenham. This is an important one. It is intended the maintenance of the roadway shall remain the permanent responsibility of the applicant and their successors, and the applicant shall record with this document the declaration of roadway easement and maintenance agreement. So we do have that roadway and maintenance agreement. I think you've looked through it. Our DPW director has looked through that and is comfortable with it. So this road will not be accepted as a public street. The only question I did have was about trash removal. On private roads, the trash trucks don't go down there. I don't know whether you've discussed that at all, how you'll have trash removal.
Yeah, so the owners just bring it to the street.
The end of the street to Cedar? Okay. I haven't confirmed that yet, but we will make sure that works out, so that the trash trucks won't be going down this street. Okay. So this is another one I wanted to ask about. All construction activities, including the maintenance, startup, and operation of any construction vehicles, shall be limited to between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 to 4 on Saturdays. Are those times adequate for you, do you feel, or?
Industry standard, that's fine.
Say that again?
It's like industry standard.
Yeah, it is pretty standard. Okay. Any exception to these limitations shall be through written and specific approval of the building and inspector and police department. So if something happens and, they need to change those, or the neighbors complain. Number 15, there shall be a pre-construction meeting at Town Hall at least 3 business days before any clearing or construction begins. And just so they're aware, at least 4 weeks prior to initiating any construction activities, the applicant should notify the planning coordinator and planning board by mail of their intentions. So we will arrange that with them to set up a pre-construction meeting.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I go back to the previous point about construction vehicles?
Yes.
I was just kind of going down. Does that include actual construction, or is that a different deadline that we need to
I think that's actual
include?
construction, Rick. It's limited to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 to 4 on Saturdays, not on Sundays.
Construction vehicles as well as construction people.
It says all construction activities.
Okay, so I do have a concern with 7 a.m. in the middle of a block in a pork chop lot, that being kind of early around here. So that's my only concern. As long as it's acknowledged, I don't think we can change that. But
No, it's, we can talk about that, Rick. If the board's not comfortable, if you feel it needs to go.
I mean, Spring Hill was a different thing. They were building 15, 20 homes, and it was essentially vacant land with not a lot of neighbors around it. But they're building in a highly congested area of 15 or so, 10 or so abutters. Mm-hmm. I wish we had some feedback from them on this point.
I would just add that, David, how do you feel about it?
You might go to 7:30.
7:30 be acceptable?
Do you think 7:30 would work, Rick?
I think it might be, yes. I just think it's showing the neighbors a little bit of respect there,
Okay.
Because I know it's going to start before 7:30. I walk by Maple Woods every morning with my dog, and they're hammering before 7. So just a little bit later might be a little bit, I didn't know you could even talk about that.
If you're
I'm
okay
thank-
with, the other side of this, Rick, is we don't want to slow down the project, but if you're okay with 7:30,
I think that would be more respectable to the neighbors around the block.
Can you guys live with that?
Those guys, typically they start at like 7 and go home at 3 o'clock. They start early.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
that's the general, hours that they work, but if you want us to start at 7:30, you have to start at 7:30, they go
Well-
home early.
I was going to say that, I mean, I know kids are out for the buses at 7 in the morning, for, I think, elementary, right? Or both?
Middle and high, I think, yeah.
Anybody else want to weigh in? And
I'd say 7.
Dave?
Construction is what construction is, 7 o'clock, I mean, that's when they start, and
I'm also fine with leaving it at 7.
Fine then, thank you. Just want to bring it up on the record so that,
Yep, thank you.
it's fair,
yeah,
Rick.
thank you.
It's a good-
Mhm.
It's a good point.
So we'll go on to number 16. We need a copy of the stormwater pollution prevention plan, approved by the appropriate agency to the planning coordinator. So we typically get that at the pre-construction meeting.
Excuse me.
Yep.
I did, going back to, I guess it's 15 on your list, I apologize.
Yep.
I wanted to just ask whether we could reduce the at least 4 weeks prior to initiating any construction activities. I think
Yeah.
Mr. Sabatini's, he's ready to go, he's ready to close on his construction financing and.
Yep. I'm okay with that. Could we do a 2-week? Could you let us know at least 2 weeks in advance? Because we need to get our staff together to be at that meeting. It's an in-person meeting with your engineers, your project managers, whoever's coordinating your project, your construction. Yeah.
It's gonna be an easy meeting. for
Engineers, everybody. And that's with all of our staff people. So, so I can make that 2 weeks and at least 2 weeks. So, and we don't need to do certified mail or overnight mail. That's a language that has just been left in there for a long time. Email is sufficient for that. Email to me, and then I coordinate that meeting.
What number is that, Margaret?
That is actually number 15.
Thank you.
My numbers are off on this one. Okay, and we'll get the stormwater pollution prevention plan. We do need a construction management plan. So that we need your traffic management, where are your trucks coming from? We typically want to know what routes they're doing. We need the staging areas determined, and other protections to the extent necessitated by site conditions. So this asks for it 1 month prior to the pre-construction meeting, but we can make that 2 weeks.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so that we will need that construction management plan. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, there's a line in mine that's incorrect. I copied this from something else. I don't know if you have it in yours, as no construction vehicles shall be allowed to obstruct vehicles. Is that in yours?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
strike that.
Strike that. One of the staging area, what we notice is not on this plan is the pad at the end of the drive of the roadway for the trucks to clean off their tires. So you'll get that to us at the pre-construction meeting. Okay. Okay. Okay, number 18. The construction and post-construction operations of the project shall comply with the requirements of the stormwater operation and maintenance plan previously approved by the planning board and attached here too. We do have a copy of the stormwater operation and maintenance plan, and it has been amended to reflect the lot owners rather than the homeowners association, which there will not be on this project. on this property. 1 week prior to land disturbance activities, the applicants shall conduct on-site inspection with the planning coordinator or the town's representative to observe the erosion controls. So they just showed you this new plan with the erosion controls, that this says we have to be out there to inspect them before they start anything. And at any point during construction, the applicant shall allow Town of Wenham or a town's designated representative to enter the site for purpose of making observations. Number 21, all water services and appurtenances shall be installed in accordance with the Wenham Water Department's standard specifications for installation of domestic water services. So the next few conditions we've discussed talk about water. The water department wants to make sure that you understand they do not want you to hook any irrigation systems up to town water. So that's one of the new things. That all landscape irrigation shall be provided by a separate well, with the understanding they still fall under the Wenham Water Restriction Bylaw. So when there's a drought and no one can water during certain times, even if you have a well, you still can't water during those times. And we've asked too that you look at the guide to lawn and landscape water conservation information from the water department when determining the landscaping for the properties. There's also something called we call it the WUMP. The Wenham Water Department is under extreme pressure from Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection to reduce water consumption. The applicant shall be responsible for mitigating this increase by providing the town of Wenham with a one-time payment of $5 per gallon average daily use per bedroom, based on Title V flows as indicated by the Water Department for each unit. This will be made at the time the applicant submits their application for water service. The funds are used to help finance water conservation measures throughout the town. This is standard for anything that's over an acre. And the last one, this definitive subdivision approval is intended to run with the land of the subdivision. As used herein, the applicant shall mean and refer to the record owner or owners of the subdivision or applicable portion thereof, and such owners or owners' successors or assigns. The provisions herefore shall be for the benefit of and enforced only by the town of Wenham and the planning board. Any time period specified in the certificate of approval shall not include such time as may be required to pursue or await the determination of appeal, whether referred to in section 81 BB or chapter 41 of the general laws or otherwise. So those are some of the conditions that,
Those are all of them.
those are all of them. Those are all of the conditions. Again, I wanted the board to know before you, finish your deliberations, what conditions we would be imposing. I just
Okay.
want to see if there was anything else. We have everything. Yep. So we're good with that. Okay.
All right,
That's all I got.
thank you, Margaret.
Thank
I don't think we have anything further from the public. I'll ask one last time.
don't see,
Nothing on Zoom. All right, anything further from the board? Rick, you get first crack again from Zoom. Nothing?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Margaret, for your hard work on that. Thank you.
David?
This one for me is a close call. I'm incredibly mindful of the analysis that we've been seeing in the master planning process, that each single-family home, in terms of a development, is a $12,000 negative net fiscal impact for the town. I don't know if that's the specific number that would be attributable here to splitting the lot or splitting the property into two single-family homes. But it sounds like when you add a single-family home, you're handing the town a negative $12,000 fiscal impact. That's, at some point, we're gonna have to, deal with this situation in this town. this applicant, I think, we got off to a rocky start, but I think there's been significant diligence here, which I appreciate. This is a rundown lot. It's a lot that has suffered from a lack of community and town input over the years. Something needs to happen with this lot. I think there is a historic character to this lot in this area that's going to be lost by this development, but I weigh that against doing something with this land that's otherwise in a fairly decrepit condition. I think this is going to have overall a somewhat negative impact on Cedar, which is a historic area, and it is a historic resource for this town. When I say negative impact, I mean it's going to diminish the historic characteristics of this area and this neighborhood, but I'm not sure what the viable path forward for this property is otherwise. And again, I do appreciate the applicant's diligence here. I think, as an aside, there was a lot of back and forth on the environmental stuff. You know, I don't think that there's more there that needs to be done. I had a little bit of concerns about some stuff that I saw on the site visit, like a toilet in the garage and whatnot. But I think we've passed that point now. So those are some of my thoughts.
The only thing that I would say about the impacting the historic nature, they got a pretty good landscaping. I'm not sure you're gonna be really able to see the buildings.
Could I follow up on that? We haven't, David, I agree it's going to change the historic nature, and Peter, I don't think you will from the street see them, but I think as a planning board and as a community, we have to address height restrictions, go forward on housing, and I think that will come out of the master plan. When you're building fully 3-story homes now in town, they're not your old typical garrison colonial with a crawl space up top. They're putting 800 and 900 square feet of living space on the 3rd floor. That's a different mass and a different size building. I know that's not something I could object to in this case because we don't have the zoning to support that idea, but I think going forward we need to look at making sure that the buildings, particularly in these landlocked almost lots, conform to the neighbors around them. And I think that's going to be very important to preserve the community of all of our neighborhoods going forward. Thank you.
I mean, I think we do have discretion here because this is not a by right, and there's not enough land to do this by right. So fundamentally, the waiver of reducing the size of the road means that we can bring in discretion about community benefit. I don't know that changes the equation much, but I do think that's important to appreciate, Rick.
Yeah, look, I think I want to thank the developer, first of all, for the cooperation. I think you guys have done a nice job of working with both the neighbors and the town. And when I hear from our peer reviewer, then everything has been addressed. That sort of puts me at ease as a board member here. I think this will be an improvement to the current condition of the lot. And we did hear feedback from a direct abutter who is in favor of the project. I know we heard commentary from some others who are concerned about what the future of this development is going to be, but it's basically adding one additional residential lot here to what is now a rundown lot that kind of looks like a junkyard back there. So if I feel comfortable that this developer is going to work in a manner to develop this project in the way that they've worked with the board. So you're right, Dave, it's not a by right project, but I think these waivers are pretty minimal, and I don't think we really want to be asking for what is it, 140 feet instead of 90 feet of pavement. So, but we can address that as we get into the waivers. That's all I have to say. And, well, I do want to say one other thing. I thought the public participation on this was very helpful, and I would encourage for other projects, if people have commentary like that, to come to us and to voice those concerns. So,
Can I add one thing, Dan?
yeah.
Which is, there's a scenario for a project that comes before us that doesn't have the land by right and asks for a waiver, under other circumstances that I would be disinclined to vote in favor of that. What I think is different here is that we're dealing with a decrepit property, and something needs to be done, and I think the developer has shown diligence here and will shepherd it to a better place overall. And so that's the basis by which I would be open to the waiver, not that the waiver is insignificant in and of itself. Because I think as a general matter, until we come up with a better plan, which we're going through now, if there's not enough land to do it, I'm highly skeptical of just packing in single-family houses for the purposes of development. I don't think this town needs that. So I think in this particular case, there's something different about this project in my eyes, which is the decrepit nature of the property as it exists, and the hope that the developer can bring it forward to a better place. Which,
Agreed, David.
I think one of the things we should be looking at when we are looking at the zoning review, Margaret, is the extent of the cul-de-sacs the turnarounds that we require. Because if our fire department is saying, we're okay with this, we have plenty of room, then do we need to update what our zoning says? Do we really need to be saying, in order to be by right, you need to have whatever? But, so that's something for future reference.
Make a note of it.
I don't have anything further on. Does anybody else have anything they want to weigh in before we close the public hearing?
Nope.
Rick?
No, sir.
David? If not, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
so moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor
Of closing?
Aye.
of closing the public hearing?
Clay.
Do you need to do a roll call?
Clay, yes. Anderson?
Aye.
Pascarello, aye. Okay. So now we move on to a vote on the waivers that are requested.
Yes.
My understanding is there are 5
1,
waivers.
2, 3, 4. There are 5, yes.
Okay, first waiver requested is section 4.1.4.1, minimum shoulder width, which is required to be 8 feet on a local street without curbing. Applicant requests a waiver to reduce the minimum shoulder width for a local street without curbing from 8 feet to 2 feet. I believe that the reason for this waiver is this is a 2-house proposed subdivision with minimal traffic. And I believe there are also swales on either side of the roadway, which would make the 8-foot shoulder width unnecessary. So,
Could I ask a question
Deliberation
remotely
on this
here?
waiver.
I'm looking at my packet. I don't see the waivers in the packet. Could they be posted up on the screen for viewing?
Oh,
I'm gonna go to just page 1 of the plan.
yeah, actually, they're on the plan. They're in the, Rick, do you have the email I sent you?
I do.
The body of that
I
email.
see it. Yeah, I see the definitive plan. I just got to go to page which?
First page.
Thank you. See them now. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll zoom in on these, so.
Okay, any discussion on the requested waiver
Not
of
from-
shoulder width?
Not from me.
Mr. Anderson?
None.
Mr. Woodland?
No, nothing.
Can I have a motion?
I motion that
Approve.
we approve the first waiver.
For minimum shoulder width, reducing it from 8 feet to 2 feet.
Right.
All those in favor? Mr. Woodland?
I'll second
I
it.
just-
Yes.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Mr. Anderson, thank you for the second. Mr. Woodland, I'm going to start with you, Rick, on the votes because
I'm
you're the
remote.
first person I see when I turn left. So, Mr. Woodland, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Clay?
Yes.
And I vote aye. Second requested waiver is section 4.1.6.6. This is, requires dead-end streets to have a turnaround with an outside right-of-way diameter of 140 feet and an outside pavement diameter of 110 feet. The requested waiver is for a cul-de-sac with a right-of-way outside diameter of 90 feet and a pavement diameter of 80 feet is proposed. The fire department has reported to us that this is appropriate and they have no problem with it. Any discussion on this requested waiver?
None.
Can I have a
No.
motion to approve?
I Motion to approve section 4.1.6.6. Dead-end streets are to have a turnaround having an outside right-of-way diameter of 140 and an outside pavement diameter of 110 foot.
To waive that requirement, right?
Yep.
A second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Woodland, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Clay?
Yes.
Pascarello, aye. Third waiver, section 4.2.1.2, to waive the requirement of granite curbing at intersections. There, no curbing is proposed. I think the reason for this waiver is due to the limitation of traffic and for improved runoff, not runoff, but drainage. Any discussion on the requested waiver from 4.2.1.2?
No.
Can I have a motion to approve the waiver of 4.2.1.2?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Woodland,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Clay,
Yes.
Pascarello, aye. Fourth waiver, from section 4.7.5.4, to waive the requirement that size of water mains on any street shall not be less than 8 inches in diameter. As discussed with the water department, no water main is proposed in the private way. There will be individual water services for the 2 lots that will connect directly to the Cedar Street water main. And I believe these are 1-inch connections. Is that?
Yeah, the lines themselves are 1 inch.
Yes, okay. Any discussion on this requested waiver from section 4.7.5.4?
None.
Can I have a motion to approve the waiver of section 4.7.5.4?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Second.
Mr. Woodland,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Clay,
Yep.
Pascarello, aye. Fifth waiver, section 4.7.9.1, to waive the requirement that street lighting shall be supplied by the developer to provide sufficient light for pedestrian safety and guidance for vehicles traveling on the street, with due consideration given for costs of maintenance and electric power. No street lighting is proposed here. There will be a street light at the proposed intersection of Cedar and Lily Lane. Pole lights are to be built at the end of the driveways. Any discussion? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the waiver of street lighting in section 4.7.9.1?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, I have 3 movements. Can I have 1 second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Woodland,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Clay,
Yes.
Pascarello, aye. This is not a requested waiver. However, the issue of sidewalks has come up. I don't believe there's a vote that's required for this. Previous discussion of the board is that sidewalks are not required for this proposed subdivision road for 2 houses. Has there been any change in opinion on that?
Not aye.
Okay, so
No.
just to be clear for the record, we are not requiring you to install sidewalks. We've gone over the 24 conditions. So at this point, I think we are ready, unless there's further discussion, for a vote on approval of the proposed definitive subdivision plan for 8 Cedar Street. Is there any further discussion? No, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the application for a definitive subdivision at 8 Cedar Street as discussed and as represented in the plans?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Woodland, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Clay?
Yes.
And Pascarello, aye. Or yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabatini and team. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we'll have that decision ready for the board sometime next week.
Okay.
And Miranda, you guys will work on getting the Mylars ready,
Yep,
and
we'll
the board will have
coordinate
them
the
doors.
covenant.
Yep, no covenant. Okay. Okay, all right, we'll be in touch next
All right,
week.
good night,
Thank you.
everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving forward on the agenda, I'm going to hop out of order and take the meeting minutes from 9. Why do we have to?
We need to close, do you already close the public hearing?
We did that before we voted, Rick.
Okay, great, thank you, sorry.
We previously,
I wasn't sure if we had,
I don't think we
had you approved the September 7th? That was the joint meeting with the select
I
board.
think we
right,
did that
Karen?
at the last meeting.
Did we do it?
Maybe
Okay.
not.
I had you did the August ones.
Okay.
Can I just back up
Yeah.
to the question?
Yeah.
The affidavit for Peter Clay should have been signed for August as well,
That's our lawyer.
because he did not attend.
It was the August.
Lawyer.
Okay, all right.
KP Law.
Okay.
No, he was
No, he was there.
there. Peter, you were at the August meeting, right?
Ann wasn't at the August meeting.
Ann wasn't there.
Okay.
No, you made me watch the August meeting. My
No,
affidavit.
you watched the, oh yeah, the August 10th meeting.
Right, the
Yeah,
August
I'm sorry.
meeting.
And then I missed another one.
You missed
Not
one
on
more than
this.
the August 10th? Not on
Yeah,
this case.
I did.
You can't vote if you missed
Well, it
two.
doesn't-
I thought you missed just one.
We voted 3-0 if we
Yeah.
count him, so. Okay,
Peter gets paid by vote. You didn't know about Peter.
I'll have to go back and
It's
check,
always up two boards.
check my notes, because you can only miss one.
I can
previously send you
only
minutes
miss
on this?
one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
What's that mean?
you can
on
only
a,
miss
on a
one
public hearing, you can
hearing,
only miss one and take the
and
Mullins
then be
affidavit
eligible
route.
to vote by watching it.
We missed the last meeting.
Was there testimony given at that meeting that he missed?
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't
In
think you
September?
continued any of these. I mean, without testimony.
No.
We'll
There was
work
testimony.
through it, because, yeah, again, even if Peter's not
September
eligible.
7th,
Three members.
I was there.
It's not gonna matter because it's either 4-0 or 3-0,
Mhm.
right? No, I'm just saying, for the record, it's still approved. It's just a
Yes.
question of whether you can sign it, Peter.
Yeah.
So
All right,
Sorry.
so do I want to table them? What are we doing here?
So there were two sets of minutes that have not been approved that I know of. There was the 9/7 minutes, which I have, and I can share them.
Which is the joint meeting,
That was the
correct?
joint, yeah, with the planning board. Let me see if you can see those.
Oh, we didn't
Yeah,
have
I
these
haven't.
at the last meeting. That's why we didn't approve them.
Let me find them, hold on. Rick, can you see those on your screen?
Perfectly, yes.
September
Mhm.
7th? Oh, great.
I don't need to see them, I have them on my laptop, so whatever you need to do is
So
fine.
that works. So these were,
This is when Dan,
oh, that was the MBTA.
Is this the meeting with the select board?
Yeah.
yes.
is there a typo in the time call to order?
Let's, I'm gonna make that a little bigger.
That's my only value add tonight.
You didn't want the smiley face after the 7?
How come I didn't get one?
Oh, this one right here, yeah.
There it is. Mm.
See if you're paying attention.
Smiling. Oh, great, okay.
Hey, I'll move to approve the meeting minutes of September 7th.
Second. All those in favor? Mr. Woodland,
Yes,
Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. Clay,
Yes.
and I vote aye. Minutes of September 14th. You should have a red line version with some edits. Minor, very minor.
That's, and I can bring that one up. Here's the red line.
So whenever anybody's ready, I'll take a motion to approve as edited.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the planning board meeting minutes from September 14th as edited
Second?
by,
Anyone?
Second.
Mr. Clay seconds. Mr. Woodland,
yes,
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Clay.
Actually, I can't, I wasn't
should-
present.
Oh, you should
Yeah,
abstain.
you should abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, I vote aye. Meeting minutes are done.
Okay.
yay.
So, We have two other items on the administrative agenda. Are these quick items, or?
Yeah, the master
Okay.
plan, I could do a master plan update.
All right, great.
We put out another survey. We had the technical working sessions on September 27th and 28th. They were well attended. They actually went pretty well. The consultants got the feedback, and they're working on putting that together into a report for us. We do have a survey that we put up for people who couldn't attend that session, to give us their comments on the strategies.
Okay.
Yeah, so you should have all gotten an email. We're putting it on social media. We're doing everything short of a bulk mailing,
Okay.
so.
If everybody has, like, I know in our neighborhood, we have a neighborhood mailing list, and if you have one, please see if you can send it around to
Yeah.
your neighbors.
Yeah, that's what we're asking too in the email I sent out. Please send it to your neighbors if you have it. I only have so many emails, Rick, that I have access to, so many groups.
Yeah, I would share this with you, but I don't own it. I have to request to use it, so.
Yeah, no,
I will
absolutely.
do it for this.
I appreciate if you could send that out to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we have discussion on building momentum, a report by Mass Housing Partnership, which you attended this week or last week?
No, that was,
or-
Rick sent that to us, and he wanted to share it with the board. So I don't know if everyone had an opportunity to read through that, or Rick, if you wanted to
I have
discuss it,
not
or?
had a-
Or we could table it to another meeting when Ann's here and we're all together. I don't have a lot of thought on it. I just thought it was good reading. You're sitting around wondering how we can make housing more affordable and what we can do. The big takeaway I have is things like oversized water retention systems and septic systems that we don't follow if we're not following state laws, which in many communities like ours is much more lenient in those regards, which adds increased cost to house. So it's really about how do we help looking at zoning, looking at how to build to make it more effective and help lowering the costs of putting a single family or multifamily house up in a town.
Okay. So if we have that report, we should take a look at it before our next meeting. I'm not aware of any other matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair. You have one?
I do have one. Something's come to my attention that I think the board needs to consider, and that's the creation of an inclusionary zoning bylaw for for this town meeting in April. There are some possible large properties that could be looking to develop soon, or, with the MBTA communities piece coming. Wenham has done such a great job in getting over that 10%, and we're at 12.8%. But as more development occurs, even these smaller subdivisions, we've got 47 Maple that now looks like they're going to try to put 4 houses there. Each one of those houses, kind of brings that 12% down just a little bit. And if we could create an inclusionary zoning bylaw that could be adopted next year, we may be able to get ahead of some of these developments. Of course, inclusionary zoning is probably for,
Yeah. You mean like for every new development, you have to have 10% affordable housing or something?
yeah, you have to have at least 10% of them affordable for
that
over a certain amount.
Can we put
Yes.
that in the agenda for November 9?
Yes, I will put it on for November 9th, and I'm going to start to get some examples of good bylaws that we could look at and have the discussion. In order to get it on for next town meeting, we'll have to have public hearings, and I think those public hearings should happen in November, December. So on the 9th of November, I will have some possible bylaws for you to look at, and we can start to discuss it then, and then decide on whether we're going to have public hearings. Because there's the 2-week notice, and
Yep.
then they have to get on the warrant. The warrant opens in February. We want to have all of our ducks in a row before that.
So I do have one other item that was not reasonably anticipated, or maybe it was because we talked about it last meeting, but can we add this to next month's agenda for November 9th, that we adopt a rule that requires or imposes a submission deadline of 14 days before
Yep.
our hearing date, so that we have ample time to review materials before our meetings?
Okay.
What's the consequence if they don't?
We don't consider it if it's not submitted by the deadline.
Okay.
And that's grounds for denial?
I don't know if it's,
So you have planning board rules and regulations, And there are some requirements in there, and honestly, a lot of it's my fault because I don't enforce it, and I don't say your cutoff for anything is here. Because the planning board, quite often in our regulations, it says, bring it to a planning board meeting. There's not always a requirement that it gets to me before it gets to you in the regulations.
Yep.
So,
I know
We
that
can look at
many
those.
boards are much stricter than we are.
yeah, for sure.
I have
You have to work with them.
witnessed, I think it was in Gloucester, the zoning board just outright refused to consider things that weren't submitted
Yep.
by their
Okay,
deadline. So, but my proposal is let's have this discussion at next month's meeting, rules in detail. Okay.
okay,
All
all right.
There are people on lots of boards and committees working on the same things. I'm working with that in CPC. How do we tighten things up? How do we make things more structured around
Yeah.
applications and stuff? So it's a great idea. I'm supporting this.
Historic's doing that too.
So,
Yeah, okay, I'll put that on the agenda, Dan, to
great.
look at our regulations too. Maybe you might want to update those.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Terrific.
Can I get a motion to adjourn until our next regular meeting of November?
November 9th at 7 p.m.
We need to do,
Sorry.
yeah, the planning board may be meeting before that
Maybe
with the
before that.
town of Hamilton.
Plus the topic that you, Gary, and I talked about this morning,
I'm sorry, Peter, which one?
where open space, select board, planning board should get together to talk about
Yeah,
property.
I think that's actually just for the chair. And I talked to the chair today about that. It's not really a board, it's not
I'm just
necessary
the
for the
vice
board
chair,
to
I'm
attend.
not the chair.
Yep,
Okay.
not
you're-
necessary at
so
this
it's-
point,
You're
yeah.
moving on.
Yes.
May I ask what the topic is?
There's some open space discussion that they were having. I'm not really sure what, that I can discuss it right now.
If it's acquisition of property, you may want to include CPC because there is financial opportunity to help support acquisition of land.
Yep.
And we've been working now with Stuart to try to figure out how that can happen.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to move that we adjourn the meeting until
I wanna
November
go.
9th, unless we have an earlier meeting with the town of Hamilton before that.
Yeah, which will.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
So, all those in favor? Mr.
Aye.
Woodland? Was that a yes? Good.
Yes.
Mr. Anderson? Mr. Clay?
Yes.
I vote aye. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.